You are not stuck. You are undisciplined. And the version of you that keeps failing is not your destiny. It is a system you unknowingly built. This audiobook is not about motivation. It is about replacement. Replacing noise with silence. Replacing chaos with structure. Replacing a fractured identity with a controlled one. If you follow this process, you will not improve yourself. You will end the old version entirely and install a new operating system for focus, action, and authority. Listen carefully. Your reset starts now. Chapter 1. Accept that your identity is a system. You are not mysterious. You are not complex. You are not inconsistent. You are patterned. Everything you do today is the result of systems you built yesterday. Not consciously, automatically. Wake time, first input, default reaction, evening shutdown. These are not habits. They are systems. And those systems are running you. You don't behave randomly. You behave predictably. That's the first principle. That's the key. Most people believe their identity is who they are. Their personality, their nature, their past. That belief is incorrect. Identity is not a trait. Identity is an output of repeated structure. You don't rise to intention, you fall to systems. Say it again. You don't rise to intention, you fall to systems. If you wake up at different times every day, you don't have a free spirit. You have a broken system. If you feel motivated some days and empty on others, that is not emotion. That is structural inconsistency. If you procrastinate, drift, and lose focus, it is not because you are lazy. It is because your defaults are weak. You have a choice. Either continue defending your personality or start designing your structure. Most people defend the version of themselves that is failing them. They say, that's just how I am. No, that's just what you repeat. Personality is not destiny. Repetition is. Look at your day, not your plans, not your goals. Your actual day. What time do you wake up? What is the first thing you look at? What do you consume before you produce? What do you do when you feel resistance? Those answers tell the truth. Not what you say you value. Not what you hope to become. Your identity is visible in your defaults. That's the key. If you want to reinvent yourself, you do not start with thinking. You start with structure. It's not about motivation. It's about design. You don't need their permission to change this. You don't need approval. You don't need understanding. Systems do not ask for permission. They operate. Here is the rule. Your identity is the sum of what you do without thinking. Automatic actions define you more than conscious decisions ever will. That is why willpower fails. Willpower only exists when you are aware. Systems exist when you are tired, distracted, bored, or emotional. You don't rise to intention, you fall to systems. Say it again. Now understand this clearly. If you want a different identity, you must install different defaults. Not inspirational defaults. Enforced defaults. A system is something that runs whether you feel like it or not. For example, a fixed wake time is a system. Not around 7. A time. A silent morning is a system. No phone. No input. No negotiation. A defined work block is a system. Start time. End time. Single task. When these exist, identity follows automatically. The disciplined person is not more motivated than you. They are more constrained. Constraint creates consistency. Consistency creates identity. That's the key. Most people try to change their behavior by changing their thoughts. That is backwards. Thoughts follow behavior. Confidence follows proof. Identity follows repetition. You do not think your way into being disciplined. You behave your way into it. You have a choice. You can continue trying to feel different. Or you can start acting different without feeling anything. Systems do not require belief. They require compliance. This is why discipline feels uncomfortable at first. You are removing the illusion of choice. Choice is expensive. Choice drains energy. Choice creates hesitation. Systems remove choice. That is why they work. You don't need their permission to stop negotiating with yourself. Negotiation is the enemy. Every time you ask yourself, should I? You have already weakened the system. A strong system does not ask. It executes. That's the key. Now understand the illusion of personality. People say, I'm not a morning person. That is not a trait. That is a pattern reinforced by late nights, poor sleep systems, and inconsistent wake times. People say, I can't focus. That is not a diagnosis. That is the result of years of fragmented attention and constant stimulation. People say, I lack discipline. No, you lack enforcement. It's not about talent. It's not about intelligence. It's about structure. Say it clearly. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. You don't rise to intention. You fall to systems. This is not a metaphor. It is a law. If your environment encourages distraction, you will be distracted. If your schedule allows drift, you will drift. If your rules are flexible, your identity will be unstable. Stability comes from rigidity. At first. Later, it becomes freedom. That's the paradox. You must accept something uncomfortable. Your current identity is perfectly designed to produce your current life. That is not an insult. That is a diagnosis. If you want a different output, you must build a different system. Not tomorrow. Not gradually. Deliberately. This chapter is not asking you to change yet. It is asking you to stop lying to yourself. You are not broken. You are built incorrectly. And anything that was built can be rebuilt. You have a choice. You can keep explaining why you are the way you are. Or you can start designing who you will become. Explanations protect the old identity. Systems replace it. That's the key. In the next chapter, we remove the first layer of interference. Noise. Because you cannot design systems in chaos. And you cannot hear structure in a loud mind. Next, you will learn why silence is not rest. It is reconstruction. Chapter 2. Silence is not rest, it is reconstruction. Most people misunderstand silence. They think silence is a break, a pause, a luxury. They are wrong. Silence is not rest. Silence is reconstruction. Rest recovers what already exists. Reconstruction rebuilds what is damaged. Your mind is damaged by noise. Not dramatic damage. Structural damage. Constant audio. Constant notifications. Constant commentary. You have trained your mind to never be alone with itself. That is not harmless. That is destructive. Noise fractures identity. Silence forges it. Say it again. Noise fractures identity. Silence forges it. Every sound you allow into your environment competes for command. Every notification pulls rank on your attention. Every background voice weakens your internal one. This is not about peace. This is about authority. The mind cannot lead if it is constantly reacting. Most people wake up and immediately submit. Phone, news, messages, music, voices. They surrender command before the day even begins. That is why they feel scattered. That is why they feel reactive. That is why they feel behind. They never took control. You have a choice. You can let the world speak first. Or you can establish silence and speak to yourself. Silence is not empty. Silence is signal. When noise is removed, patterns emerge. Thoughts slow down. Impulses become visible. That's the key. Silence reveals what noise hides. Discomfort, restlessness, compulsion. Most people avoid silence because it exposes them. It reveals how undisciplined their attention really is. They say they can't sit still. That is not a personality trait. That is withdrawal. You have trained your brain on constant stimulation. When you remove it, the brain protests. That protest is not a problem. That protest is the beginning of reconstruction. Noise fractures identity. Silence forges it. In silence, you begin to notice how often you want to escape. Check. Scroll. Consume. That urge is not random. It is conditioned. And conditioning can be reversed. Here is the rule. Silence must be intentional, scheduled, and protected. Not accidental. Not optional. Silence is not when things calm down. Silence is enforced absence of input. For example, no audio during walks. No podcasts. No music. Just movement and breath. No phone during the first hour of the day. No messages. No news. No commentary. No background noise while working. No videos. No streams. One task. One mind. These are not preferences. They are constraints. Constraints restore command. That's the key. Real-world example. When people eliminate constant audio, podcasts during chores, music during every task, videos in the background, something uncomfortable happens. Thoughts get louder. Time feels slower. Boredom appears. Most people interpret this as a problem. It is not. It is exposure. The mind is recalibrating. After days of silence, something shifts. Decisions feel clearer. Internal dialogue becomes stronger. Reactivity decreases. Why? Because the mind is no longer fragmented. Noise fractures identity. Silence forges it. Notifications work the same way. Every notification is a command, not a suggestion. It interrupts focus, breaks continuity, and trains you to be interruptible. An interruptible mind cannot build anything meaningful. Here is the system. Notifications are either eliminated or scheduled. No random alerts. No banners. No vibrations. You decide when the world can speak to you, not the other way around. You don't need their permission to be unreachable. Reachability is not responsibility. It is weakness when uncontrolled. That's the key. Silence also applies internally. Constant self-commentary is noise. Narrating your life. Explaining yourself. Judging every action. Silence trains you to act without commentary. Do the task. No explanation. No analysis. No performance. Action in silence builds authority. You don't need to tell anyone. You don't need to label it. You don't need to document it. Noise fractures identity. Silence forges it. Understand this clearly. Silence is where focus is trained. Focus is not created by effort. It is revealed when interference is removed. If you cannot focus for 10 minutes in silence, you do not have an attention problem. You have an exposure problem. You have avoided silence for years. Now you will use it. Here is the behavioral rule. Daily silence block. Minimum 30 minutes. No input. No output. Just sitting, walking, or thinking. Not meditation for peace. Observation for control. Notice impulses. Do not act on them. This is how you train attention. You have a choice. Escape discomfort, or use it to rebuild yourself. Silence forces you to confront your internal defaults. Restlessness, avoidance, mental wandering. Those are not flaws. They are untrained functions. Silence is the gym. Noise fractures identity. Silence forges it. Most people say they don't have time for silence. That is a lie. They are afraid of what will surface. But what surfaces is exactly what must be disciplined. This chapter is not about becoming calm. It is about becoming sovereign. Sovereignty begins when your mind answers to you. No system can be built in noise. No identity can stabilize in chaos. Silence is the foundation. In the next chapter, you will learn why consumption without installation weakens self-trust, and why most people are informed but unchanged. Silence prepares the ground. Next, you decide what gets installed. Chapter 3. Stop consuming, start installing. Most people believe they are learning. They are not. They are consuming. Consumption feels productive. It creates movement without friction. It creates confidence without evidence. That is why it is dangerous. Information without execution weakens self-trust. It inflates false progress. It creates the illusion of change without the cost of change. If it doesn't change your day, it doesn't change your life. Say it again. If it doesn't change your day, it doesn't change your life. The modern mind is over-informed and under-conditioned. People know what to do. They simply do not do it. And the more they consume, the worse it gets. Here is why. Every time you consume information without acting on it, you teach your brain a rule. I can feel progress without changing. That rule becomes a system. Soon, learning replaces doing. Watching replaces building. Listening replaces acting. You feel busy. You feel aware. You feel intelligent. But your life stays the same. That's the key. Knowledge does not create change. Behavior does. And behavior only changes through installation. Installation means something specific. A behavior that is concrete, observable, repeatable, not an idea, not a mindset, not a theory, a rule you follow tomorrow. You have a choice. You can keep collecting ideas, or you can start installing behaviors. You don't need their permission to stop learning. Learning is not the goal. Execution is. Most people are addicted to insight. They chase clarity instead of compliance. They say, I just need to understand it better. No, you need to do it longer. Understanding does not produce discipline. Repetition does. If it doesn't change your day, it doesn't change your life. Look at how people consume. Podcasts on discipline, books on focus, videos on systems, and yet their days are unchanged. Same wake time, same distractions, same avoidance. Why? Because nothing was installed. Here is the rule. One input, one installation. If you hear an idea and it does not immediately translate into a behavior you can execute tomorrow, discard it. Do not save it. Do not highlight it. Do not revisit it. Delete it. This is how you rebuild self-trust. Self-trust is not confidence. Self-trust is evidence. Evidence that when you decide, you follow through. Consumption destroys that evidence. Every unfinished idea becomes a quiet vote against yourself. That's the key. Most people say they are working on themselves. What they mean is they are thinking about themselves. Thinking is cheap. Installation is expensive. It costs time. It costs comfort. It costs ego. That is why most people avoid it. They would rather feel informed than be disciplined. You will not. Here is how installation works. An installable behavior has three properties. First, it is specific. Not focus more, but work in silence from 8 to 9:30. Second, it is scheduled. Not when I feel like it, but every weekday. Third, it is enforced. There is a consequence for skipping it. No consequence means no system. That's the key. Here is a real-world example. Someone listens to content about deep work. They feel inspired. They nod along, but their day does not change. An installer does something different. They remove all background audio during work. They set a 90-minute block. They place their phone in another room. That is installation. No inspiration required. No motivation needed. Just compliance. If it doesn't change your day, it doesn't change your life. Binge learning is the opposite of installation. Binge learning creates dependency. You feel unfinished without new input. You feel restless in silence. You are not learning anymore. You are soothing yourself. That is not growth. That is avoidance. You have a choice. You can use information as a tool, or you can use it as a distraction. Most people use it as entertainment disguised as self-improvement. You will not. Here is another rule. No consecutive consumption without execution. If you listen to one chapter, you execute one behavior before consuming anything else. No exceptions. This creates friction. Friction is good. Friction separates seriousness from fantasy. You don't need their permission to stop halfway through a book. Completion without execution is meaningless. Finish behaviors, not chapters. That's the key. Notice how your mind reacts when asked to install instead of consume. Resistance, excuses, delay. That reaction is diagnostic. It tells you where your identity is weakest. That is where you start. Not with what excites you, with what you avoid. If it doesn't change your day, it doesn't change your life. Most people confuse intensity with progress. They binge for a weekend. They feel changed. Then Monday arrives, and nothing is different. Change that lasts is boring, repetitive, unremarkable. It does not feel like transformation. It looks like routine. Identity changes quietly, system by system, behavior by behavior. You don't rise to intention, you fall to systems. And systems are installed, not imagined. Here is your enforcement rule. For the next phase, you are allowed to consume information only if you write down one behavior it will produce tomorrow. Not someday. Tomorrow. If you cannot identify one, stop listening. This audiobook is not here to entertain you. It is here to condition you. Conditioning requires repetition and action, not insight. You have a choice. Be informed and unchanged, or be disciplined and different. One builds ego, the other builds identity. That's the key. In the next chapter, we will remove another weakness: choice. You will learn why discipline fails when decisions are optional, and how structure removes negotiation entirely. Installation prepares the behavior. Structure locks it in place. Next, build a daily structure that removes choice. Chapter 4. Build a daily structure that removes choice. Discipline does not fail because people are weak. Discipline fails because people keep giving themselves choices. Every choice invites negotiation. Every negotiation drains energy. Every drained mind defaults to comfort. That is the mechanism. Freedom comes after structure, not before it. Say it again. Freedom comes after structure, not before it. Most people design their days around how they feel. That is a mistake. Feelings are unstable. Energy fluctuates. Motivation disappears. Structure is what remains when all of that is gone. If your day requires you to decide when to start, what to work on, and how long to continue, you do not have discipline. You have a gamble, and you lose most days. You have a choice. You can keep trusting future motivation, or you can remove the need for it. Removing choice is not oppression. It is relief. When the decision is already made, execution becomes simple. That's the key. Look at where your discipline breaks down. Not at your intentions. At the moments you hesitate. Wake up time. Work start time. Phone usage. Silence. Those are decision points. Decision points are failure points. A strong system eliminates them. Here is the rule. If something matters, it must be scheduled. If it is scheduled, it must be non-negotiable. Non-negotiable does not mean aggressive. It means final. No debate. No exceptions. No mood-based edits. Freedom comes after structure, not before it. Let's start with the foundation. Wake time. A variable wake time creates a variable identity. You start the day reactive, behind, and rushed. A fixed wake time does something different. It anchors the day. It sets rhythm. Not around 7. Not when I wake up. A time. The body adapts. The mind stabilizes. This is not about mornings. It is about predictability. Predictability reduces cognitive load. Reduced load increases focus. That's the key. Next, pre-decided work blocks. Most people work all day and produce nothing. They are busy because nothing is defined. A work block has rules. Start time. End time. Single task. No input. No checking. No switching. No multitasking. You do not decide what to work on during the block. That decision is made before the day begins. This removes hesitation. Hesitation is where discipline dies. Freedom comes after structure, not before it. If you wait to feel ready, you will not start. If you start because it is time, readiness follows. That is how systems reverse cause and effect. Now silence windows. Silence is not a preference. It is a requirement. A non-negotiable silence window means no audio, no notifications, no commentary. Not most days. Every day, the mind learns through repetition, not explanation. When silence is optional, it will always be postponed. Optional discipline is not discipline. That's the key. Most people resist structure because they confuse it with rigidity. They think structure limits freedom. They are wrong. Structure creates freedom by conserving energy. When your day runs automatically, you stop arguing with yourself. No inner dialogue. No bargaining. No delay. Just execution. You don't need their permission to live this way. You do not owe anyone constant availability. You do not owe the world your attention. Attention is a resource. Structure protects it. Here is another rule. Your structure must exist outside your head. Written schedule. Visible rules. Clear boundaries. Mental plans are weak. Written systems are enforceable. If it is not written, it is optional. That's the key. Let's address resistance. You will feel constrained at first. That is normal. Constraint feels uncomfortable to an undisciplined mind. But discomfort is not danger. It is adaptation. After repetition, something shifts. The structure disappears into habit. Execution becomes automatic. This is where freedom appears. Freedom comes after structure, not before it. Most people want freedom first. They want flexibility. They want options. Options create paralysis. You are not here to keep options open. You are here to close them deliberately. Close the option to sleep in. Close the option to check your phone during work. Close the option to drift. Closed options create momentum. Momentum creates identity. That's the key. Here is a practical system. Each day has 3 fixed anchors. A fixed wake time. A fixed deep work block. A fixed silence window. These anchors do not move. Everything else adjusts around them. If something threatens the anchor wins. No justification required. You have a choice. Protect the system or protect comfort. Only one builds a new identity. Most people say they want discipline. What they really want is flexibility without consequences. That does not exist. Discipline is not harsh. Indecision is. Indecision creates guilt, stress, and self-doubt. Structure removes all 3. You don't need their permission to be boring. Boring routines produce extraordinary results. Not because they are intense, because they are consistent. Freedom comes after structure, not before it. Repeat it. Now understand this. Structure is not about controlling your entire life. It is about controlling the parts that control everything else. Sleep, focus, input. If those are stable, everything improves. If those are chaotic, nothing holds. That's the key. This chapter is not asking you to do more. It is asking you to decide less. Decision reduction is the hidden advantage of disciplined people. They do not wake up asking what kind of day it will be. They already know. You have a choice. Continue negotiating with yourself every morning, or build a structure that executes for you. One exhausts you. The other carries you. In the next chapter, we move deeper. Structure creates consistency, but attention must be trained. You will learn why focus is not a trait, but a muscle, and how to train it deliberately. Structure removes choice. Next, you condition attention itself. Chapter 5. Train attention like a muscle. Focus is not a trait. It is not inherited. It is not natural. Focus is a skill, a neurological capacity, a muscle that grows stronger with deliberate exercise. What you tolerate trains your brain. Say it again. What you tolerate trains your brain. Most people believe they are distracted because they are weak-willed. They believe they are not built for focus. They are wrong. Distraction is learned. Attention is trained. Every input, every habit, every tolerated interruption shapes the neural pathways of your mind. What you tolerate trains your brain. Look at your day. What do you tolerate? Notifications, background noise, scrolling, interruptions. Every tolerated disruption reinforces weakness. Every tolerated distraction strengthens the circuits of reactivity. Every unchallenged impulse trains your brain to default to drift. That is why you must train attention like a muscle. Deliberately, progressively, non-negotiably. Here is the principle. The brain adapts to the demands placed upon it. If you train it to flinch at distraction, it will flinch automatically. If you train it to resist impulse, resistance becomes default. If you train it to sustain focus, attention deepens. Step 1. Time deep work. Choose a single task. Set a timer. Start with a period you can sustain, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. No interruptions. No input. No negotiation. Observe how the mind protests. It will generate urges to check your phone. It will invent excuses. It will demand relief. Do not give in. Resist. The resistance is the exercise. The discomfort is the adaptation. Step 2. Boredom exposure. Do not fill every empty moment with distraction. Sit quietly. Walk without a phone. Do nothing. Resist the urge to escape. Observe thoughts. Do not act on impulse. Boredom is training. It restores patience. It recalibrates reward. It strengthens focus. Step 3. Distraction resistance. Structure your environment to challenge attention. Remove all non-essential inputs. Place obstacles to interruption. Every time the mind wants to drift, force it to return. Each return strengthens neural pathways. Each correction builds control. Each moment of sustained attention grows the muscle. What you tolerate trains your brain. Every distraction tolerated becomes stronger. Every focus enforced becomes stronger. Do not underestimate small wins. 5 uninterrupted minutes today compounds into 30 tomorrow and 2 hours next week. Progress is incremental. Strength is built through repetition. Here is the rule. Schedule focus sessions daily. Observe and resist distractions. End each session deliberately. Record completion. Repeat consistently. Do not rely on willpower alone. Do not hope for perfect conditions. Build the habit. Control the environment. Remove negotiation. The distracted mind resists focus. The disciplined mind seeks challenge. The disciplined mind enforces attention. You have a choice. Continue tolerating every interruption, or train attention deliberately and deliberately enforce it. The difference is measurable. The difference is neurological. The difference is identity. What you tolerate trains your brain. Say it again. What you tolerate trains your brain. Attention is a muscle. It must be exercised. It must be challenged. It must be defended. Next, you will learn why explaining, justifying, and narrating your life is a hidden form of distraction. Why words without action dilute focus. And how eliminating explanation channels energy directly into execution. Train attention. Enforce it daily. Strengthen it relentlessly. What you tolerate trains your brain. Chapter 5. Train attention like a muscle. Focus is not a trait. It is not inherited. It is not natural. Focus is a skill, a neurological capacity, a muscle that grows stronger with deliberate exercise. What you tolerate trains your brain. Say it again. What you tolerate trains your brain. Most people believe they are distracted because they are weak-willed. They believe they are not built for focus. They are wrong. Distraction is learned. Attention is trained. Every input, every habit, every tolerated interruption shapes the neural pathways of your mind. What you tolerate trains your brain. Look at your day. What do you tolerate? Notifications, background noise, scrolling, interruptions. Every tolerated disruption reinforces weakness. Every tolerated distraction strengthens the circuits of reactivity. Every unchallenged impulse trains your brain to default to drift. That is why you must train attention like a muscle. Deliberately, progressively, non-negotiably. Here is the principle. The brain adapts to the demands placed upon it. If you train it to flinch at distraction, it will flinch automatically. If you train it to resist impulse, resistance becomes default. If you train it to sustain focus, attention deepens. Step 1. Time deep work. Choose a single task. Set a timer. Start with a period you can sustain, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. No interruptions. No input. No negotiation. Observe how the mind protests. It will generate urges to check your phone. It will invent excuses. It will demand relief. Do not give in. Resist. The resistance is the exercise. The discomfort is the adaptation. Step 2. Boredom exposure. Do not fill every empty moment with distraction. Sit quietly. Walk without a phone. Do nothing. Resist the urge to escape. Observe thoughts. Do not act on impulse. Boredom is training. It restores patience. It recalibrates reward. It strengthens focus. Step 3. Distraction resistance. Structure your environment to challenge attention. Remove all non-essential inputs. Place obstacles to interruption. Every time the mind wants to drift, force it to return. Each return strengthens neural pathways. Each correction builds control. Each moment of sustained attention grows the muscle. What you tolerate trains your brain. Every distraction tolerated becomes stronger. Every focus enforced becomes stronger. Do not underestimate small wins. 5 uninterrupted minutes today compounds into 30 tomorrow and 2 hours next week. Progress is incremental. Strength is built through repetition. Here is the rule. Schedule focus sessions daily. Observe and resist distractions. End each session deliberately. Record completion. Repeat consistently. Do not rely on willpower alone. Do not hope for perfect conditions. Build the habit. Control the environment. Remove negotiation. The distracted mind resists focus. The disciplined mind seeks challenge. The disciplined mind enforces attention. You have a choice. Continue tolerating every interruption, or train attention deliberately and deliberately enforce it. The difference is measurable. The difference is neurological. The difference is identity. What you tolerate trains your brain. Say it again. What you tolerate trains your brain. Attention is a muscle. It must be exercised. It must be challenged. It must be defended. Next, you will learn why explaining, justifying, and narrating your life is a hidden form of distraction. Why words without action dilute focus. And how eliminating explanation channels energy directly into execution. Train attention. Enforce it daily. Strengthen it relentlessly. What you tolerate trains your brain. Chapter 6. Kill the version of you that explains. Most people are addicted to explanation. They narrate their lives. They justify their actions. They rationalize their failures. This is not harmless. It is destructive. Explanations are the enemy of execution. Say it again. Explanations are the enemy of execution. Every time you explain, you expend energy you could spend acting. Every justification delays implementation. Every story about why you cannot do something is a vote for inaction. People talk about change as if conversation alone creates it. They write lists. They record thoughts. They lecture themselves or others. And nothing changes. That is the pattern. The explanation substitutes for action. It gives the illusion of productivity. It reinforces identity without modifying it. You have a choice. You can narrate your life endlessly, or you can act without commentary. Explanations are slow. Execution is fast. Execution moves identity forward. Explanation keeps identity stagnant. Here is the principle. The brain consumes less energy in thought than in action, but it rewards thought more often. That is why explaining feels productive. But explaining produces nothing. Action produces everything. If you narrate why you cannot wake up early, your default does not change. If you rationalize why you procrastinate, your system remains broken. If you justify why you avoid deep work, your mind continues to drift. The old version of you exists in your explanations. It hides behind words. It shields itself with rationalizations. It prevents installation of new behavior. You don't need their permission to stop explaining. You don't need understanding. You don't need empathy. You need compliance. Here is the rule. Every internal monologue asking why must be examined. If it delays action, it is discarded. If it distracts from doing, it is terminated. Your time is finite. Every sentence spoken to defend yourself subtracts from your identity-building capacity. Every justification builds comfort for the version of you you are leaving behind. Explanations are emotional padding for cowardice. They make failure tolerable. They make inaction acceptable. Do not tolerate it. Real-world example. People who claim they are working on themselves spend hours talking about what they plan to do, what they should do, or what they hope to achieve. Meanwhile, the habits, systems, and structure that could actually transform them remain incomplete. Do not fall into this trap. Action is your only language. Not words, not lectures, not comments. Explanations are for those who are not ready to commit. Execution is for those who are. You have a choice. Keep explaining, or start executing. Every decision to justify is a decision to reinforce the old identity. Every choice to act without commentary weakens it. That is why you must kill the version of you that explains. Do this in 3 steps. Step 1. Observe. Notice every internal and external explanation. Every reason you give for delay, distraction, or inconsistency. Step 2. Interrupt. When you catch yourself explaining, stop immediately. Do not finish the thought. Do not rationalize. Do not justify. Step 3. Redirect. Take the energy saved from explanation and convert it into execution. 1 act, 1 behavior, One system enforcing action. Explanations create paralysis. Action creates momentum. Momentum shapes identity. Explanations are the enemy of execution. Repeat it. Explanations are the enemy of execution. The new version of you speaks with action. It does not narrate its intentions. It does not defend itself. It does not explain. You don't rise to explanation. You fall to execution. This chapter is not about suppression. It is about replacement. Replace talking with doing. Replace justification with discipline. Replace narrative with systemized action. Most people confuse reflection with procrastination. Reflection is silent observation. Narrative is escape. Do not escape. You have a choice. Keep explaining and remain the same, or act without commentary and become different. Next, you will learn why enforcement replaces motivation entirely, why waiting to feel ready is failure, and why systems, not inspiration, create unbreakable discipline. Execution kills explanation. Systems enforce action. Next, enforcement becomes your foundation. Chapter 7. Replace motivation with enforcement. Motivation is unreliable. It fluctuates. It rises and falls with your mood, energy, and circumstances. That is why motivation fails. You cannot depend on feeling ready. You cannot wait for inspiration to appear. You don't need to feel ready. You need rules. Say it again. You don't need to feel ready. You need rules. The undisciplined person believes they act because they feel like it. The disciplined person acts because the system requires it. That is the difference. Rules replace emotion. Enforcement replaces indecision. Structure replaces chaos. Motivation is weak. Enforcement is strong. Here is the principle. Behavior must be compelled, not through willpower, not through belief, through systemized enforcement. Systems enforce themselves. Rules leave no room for negotiation. Consequences make compliance non-optional. For example, you will work from 8 to 9:30. No exceptions. If you miss it, you must make up the time. No excuses. You will wake at 6 a.m. No negotiation. No justification. The alarm goes off, you get up. End of debate. You will not wait until you feel ready. You will act because the system demands it. You don't need their permission. You don't need clarity. You don't need inspiration. You need rules. Rules are invisible authority. They operate whether you like them or not. They do not bend to comfort. They do not negotiate with desire. Enforcement also includes consequences. Every system without consequence is optional. Every optional system is powerless. Every powerless system reinforces the old identity. Here is the rule. For every critical behavior, attach a consequence. Immediate or scheduled, internal or external. It does not matter. It only matters that non-compliance carries a cost. For example, if you fail your morning deep work block, you cannot allow yourself leisure in the evening. If you skip your silence window, you must extend your next block. If you fail a workout, you double it tomorrow. Consequences do not punish. They enforce structure. They preserve identity. Environment is enforcement. The room, the desk, the phone, the notifications, these are not neutral. They are systems. They either enforce discipline or enforce distraction. Remove what enforces weakness. Add what enforces compliance. No music during work. Phone in another room. Notifications off. Clear boundaries. Non-negotiable. The environment is the silent enforcer. It never tires. It never complains. It never negotiates. That is the power of structural enforcement. Most people act as if motivation is the driver. They wait. They hope. They drift. Enforcement is the driver. It compels action. It produces consistency. It builds identity. You don't need to feel ready. You need rules. Repeat it. You don't need to feel ready. You need rules. Rules remove debate. Rules remove hesitation. Rules remove the illusion that you must want it in order to act. That illusion is a trap. You will feel resistance. You will feel discomfort. You will feel boredom. That is acceptable. That is expected. That is the test. Motivation disappears. Rules remain. Enforcement continues. Here is a behavioral framework. Step 1. Identify the key behaviors that define your identity. Step 2. Schedule them non-negotiably. Step 3. Attach a consequence for every failure. Step 4. Adjust the environment to remove temptation and distraction. Step 5. Follow the system without relying on emotion. Do this consistently. Enforcement is not punishment. Enforcement is alignment. Enforcement is structural certainty. Every time you replace motivation with enforcement, you reclaim energy. Energy wasted on doubt, debate, and justification is now directed toward action. That is the difference between those who act and those who hope. Rules do not ask. Rules do not wait. Rules do not negotiate. You don't need to feel ready. You need rules. Most people will argue. They will seek flexibility. They will wait for inspiration. Do not join them. The system demands obedience. You obey. When enforcement is consistent, identity follows. Momentum compounds. Small actions become automatic. Discipline becomes inevitable. Motivation is temporary. Enforcement is permanent. You have a choice. Rely on fleeting emotion and fail, or rely on rules and succeed automatically. That is the foundation. In the next chapter, we will make your behavior predictable to yourself. We will eliminate internal negotiation and hesitation entirely. Consistency becomes confidence. Predictability becomes authority. Enforcement builds the framework. Predictability locks it into identity. Chapter 8. Become predictable to yourself. Self-trust is not built in moments of inspiration. It is built in repetition, in predictable action, in consistent routines. Consistency creates confidence, not intensity. Say it again. Consistency creates confidence, not intensity. Most people think transformation requires dramatic effort. They believe that extraordinary days produce extraordinary results. They are wrong. Identity is reinforced quietly, boringly, without fanfare. Predictability is the mechanism. When your behavior is consistent, your mind stops negotiating. Your energy is no longer wasted on indecision. Your confidence emerges automatically. Look at the undisciplined person. They wake late. They skip tasks. They justify and debate. Their internal system is inconsistent. They distrust themselves. They hesitate constantly. Now look at the disciplined person. They wake at the same time every day. They complete their work blocks without negotiation. They observe silence windows. Predictable action eliminates hesitation. Predictable action eliminates doubt. Predictable action builds trust in self. That is the rule. Self-trust is not a feeling. It is proof of consistency. Every time you break a routine, you erode confidence. Every time you honor the system, you reinforce it. Momentum compounds quietly. Consistency creates confidence, not intensity. Intensity is temporary. It excites. It burns out. It leaves nothing behind. Confidence built on consistency is permanent. It becomes automatic. It becomes default. That is the difference between trying hard and being reliable. Trying hard is performance. Being reliable is identity. You have a choice. Chase peaks of effort, or establish rhythms of repetition. Your environment must support predictability. Rules alone are not enough. Boundaries enforce consistency. No notifications during work. No optional tasks during focused blocks. No distractions in silence windows. Predictable behavior is boring to the outside world. That is intentional. Boring routines produce extraordinary results. The mind is reinforced when outcomes are predictable. Internal conflict disappears. Resistance weakens. Momentum increases. Every decision removed from your daily system is energy reclaimed. Every automatic behavior reinforces identity. Every repeated action compounds into confidence. The version of you that hesitates and debates is killed slowly, quietly, invisibly. In its place rises someone who acts reliably. Someone whose mind no longer negotiates. Someone whose identity is undeniable. Consistency creates confidence, not intensity. Do not chase highs. Do not seek inspiration. Do not measure by effort. Measure by completion. Measure by repetition. Measure by reliability. Here is the rule. Behavior must be non-negotiable. Behavior must be predictable. Behavior must be repeated until it is automatic. Self-trust is the output. Predictability is the input. You have a choice. Remain reactive to circumstances, or design your day so that every important action is automatic. The disciplined mind does not debate. It does not analyze. It executes, consistently, every day. Predictable routines silence internal conflict. They eliminate hesitation. They reinforce identity without drama. This is the foundation for mental authority. Self-trust allows attention to stabilize. Focus becomes reliable. Execution becomes inevitable. Consistency creates confidence, not intensity. Next, we will expose the neurological tool that most people fear: boredom. You will learn how deliberate exposure to boredom rewires attention, strengthens patience, and creates the mental endurance necessary for sustained deep work. Predictability builds confidence. Boredom builds focus. Chapter 9. Let boredom rewire you. Most people fear boredom. They treat it as a threat, a failure, a sign that something is wrong. They are wrong. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the tool. Boredom is where discipline takes root. Say it again. Boredom is where discipline takes root. Constant stimulation fragments the mind. Notifications, music, podcasts, scrolling, they all train the brain to expect instant gratification. Attention becomes shallow. Patience disappears. Depth is impossible. That is why most people cannot focus. They are addicted to novelty. They are trained to react instead of act. Boredom reverses that conditioning. It recalibrates attention. It restores sensitivity to meaningful reward. Here is the principle. Discipline is neurological, not moral. It is built through exposure, repetition, and controlled resistance. Boredom provides the exposure. Boredom provides the resistance. You have a choice. Escape boredom, or use it to rebuild your mind. Every urge to scroll, check, or distract is diagnostic. It shows where the mind has been conditioned to weak reward. Do not follow the urge. Observe it. Sit in it. Breathe through it. Boredom is uncomfortable. That is the point. Discomfort is the signal of training. Growth requires discomfort. Strength is developed when the mind resists impulse. Practical application. Start with small, controlled windows. Walk without a podcast. Do a chore without audio. Sit with nothing to do for 10 minutes. No phone. No music. No entertainment. At first, the mind protests. It complains. It creates narratives of urgency. It whispers, do something. Anything. Ignore it. Do not negotiate. This is exposure. This is conditioning. Boredom strengthens focus. Boredom rebuilds patience. Boredom restores depth. That is why it is critical. Boredom is not optional. Boredom is structural. It is part of the system that enforces identity. Longer exposure gradually rewires the dopamine system. Rewards are no longer needed constantly. You learn to derive satisfaction from completion, effort, and presence. Shallow distractions lose their power. Attention deepens. Boredom is where discipline takes root. Say it again. Boredom is where discipline takes root. Most people try to avoid it at all costs. They never allow themselves to sit with discomfort. They never learn to tolerate delayed reward. That is why their focus is brittle. That is why their patience is short. You have a choice. You can chase constant stimulation, or you can build mental endurance. Endurance is invisible. It shows up in long work sessions. It shows up in quiet hours. It shows up in the ability to do hard things consistently. Here is the rule. Every day, schedule one deliberate boredom block. No input. No distraction. No escape. Length increases over time. Start small. Build gradually. During this block, observe impulses. Do not react. Do not justify. Do not distract yourself. This is where attention is trained. This is where self-command strengthens. This is where the mind learns it does not need constant stimulation to function. Boredom is the gym of the disciplined mind. It is silent. It is uncomfortable. It is invisible to everyone else. Yet it is critical. Without it, focus remains shallow. Without it, patience remains brittle. Without it, identity cannot stabilize. You don't rise to motivation. You fall to conditioning. Boredom provides that conditioning. Boredom is where discipline takes root. Repeat it. Boredom is where discipline takes root. The undisciplined mind avoids boredom. The disciplined mind embraces it. The disciplined mind allows discomfort to instruct. The disciplined mind uses friction as fuel. Your environment must support this. Remove constant background stimulation. Schedule time with nothing to occupy you. Enforce the silence. Observe the impulses. Do not engage. This is how the neurological system adapts. This is how attention is repaired. This is how the capacity for deep work emerges. Boredom is not punishment. It is construction. It is the foundation for focus. It is the soil where consistency and identity grow. Next, you will learn to lock the new identity in place. All the routines, all the systems, all the silence and focus, without reinforcement, they fade. You will build unbreakable structures that protect the version of you have trained. Boredom strengthens the mind. Consistency strengthens the system. Next, you make it permanent. Chapter 10. Lock the new identity in place. Identity is not automatic. It does not solidify overnight. It does not survive neglect. What you protect persists. Say it again. What you protect persists. You have spent weeks, months, or years building systems, routines, and focus. You have trained attention. You have endured boredom. You have acted without explanation. But without reinforcement, all of it erodes. The old defaults quietly creep back. The old version of yourself waits for weakness. Systems alone do not maintain identity. Boundaries protect it. Repetition reinforces it. Auditing preserves it. That is the rule. First, audit relentlessly. Each week, review every system. Every anchor. Wake times, silence windows, work blocks. Every consequence. Every installed behavior. Ask, does this still serve the identity I am building? If yes, maintain it. If no, fix it immediately. Second, reinforce daily. Non-negotiable execution must continue. Habits and routines require repetition, not intention. Even small lapses weaken the system. Even one skipped window is a fracture. Consistency is the cement of identity. Third, defend boundaries aggressively. The world will test you. Requests, invitations, urgent distractions. Do not negotiate. Boundaries are not flexible. They are non-negotiable. You don't need their permission to enforce them. Systems, boundaries, and repetition create permanence. They lock identity in place. Behavior must remain predictable. Execution must remain automatic. Momentum must continue unbroken. What you protect persists. Repeat it. What you protect persists. The version of you that exists today is fragile. It will survive only if the structures you built are defended. Nothing will reinforce itself without your intervention. Here is the practical rule. Schedule weekly audits. Protect daily routines. Enforce silence and focus windows. Remove anything that erodes the system. Do not rely on willpower. Do not rely on memory. Do not rely on motivation. The system itself must enforce the behavior. Every action reinforces identity. Every boundary maintained preserves it. Every lapse corrected restores it. This is the final step. Without it, all previous chapters are temporary gains. With it, transformation is permanent. You have a choice. Let old defaults reemerge, or defend the version of yourself you have trained. What you protect persists. What you enforce becomes automatic. What you repeat becomes your identity. Your mind, your systems, your behaviors, treat them as assets. Guard them, audit them, strengthen them daily. This is the final rule. Discipline is invisible, consistent, unyielding. Identity is not found. It is built, maintained, and protected. What you protect persists. Say it one last time. What you protect persists. You have done the work. You have applied structure. You have endured boredom. You have installed behaviors and removed negotiation. You have trained attention. Now enforce permanence. Your new identity does not need validation. It does not need permission. It only needs protection. Start today. Audit. Enforce. Repeat. What you protect persists. If you have followed this audiobook, you are ready to continue building. For more structured systems, daily enforcement strategies, and advanced identity design, subscribe now to the channel. Every new video is another layer of reinforcement for the disciplined mind. Do not wait for inspiration. Do not wait for approval. Act. Protect. Repeat. What you protect persists.